Makati mose muri Zimbabwe kusangana zvekare pano pachivhitivhiti paTV yenyu patinenge tichikupa nyaya dzinenge dzichiitika munyika yeZimbabwe. Mamiriro zvakaita muri Zimbabwe tine runyerekupe ruri kubuda pano zvichinzi pane kurongerwa kwaitwa Super Mandiwanzira kuti anga achipinzwa muchizarira nekuda kwemashoko aakataura parari yakaitirwa kunyanga. Ndofunga kana muri kurangarira kuti nyaya yakaitwa naSuper Mandiwanzira ndiyo imwe chete yenyaya dzakaparwa naMike naMoses Mpofu. Nyaya yakaparwa naMike naMoses Mpofu haisi nyaya yembudzi. Nyaya iri paya inyaya yekuti Mike naMoses vakaexposa mukuru. Saka ndiyo imwe nyaya iri kutaurwa panapa kuti Super Mandiwanzira akaexposa zvekare Mnangagwa zvekuti izvozvi zviri kunzi ane mhosva yake ende zviri kunzi ari kutambira mafone calls erufu. Izvozvizvi ari kutambira mafone calls emathreats kubva kutimu raEmmerson Mnangagwa. Saka mamiriro zvakaita muri Zimbabwe zvinhu hazvina kumira zvakanaka, zvinhu hazvina kugadzikana. Super Mandiwanzira akauya achitaura mashoko ekuti kune kunyanga kwaifanira kunge kuchiiswa 30 megawatts kwaifanira kunge kuchigadzirwa negreen yemagetsi. Matenda iwayo akapuwa vaChivhayo, but vaChivhayo havana kuzodheriva sezvakanga zvakatarisirwa. Vataura mashoko iwayo, takazonzwa ZANU-PF yakutaurawo mashoko akafanana neekuti Super Mandiwanzira ari kutambira kunonyudza, you don't criticize my son and expect to survive for a day in Zimbabwe politics. He criticized Chivhayo for unfinished power generation project whose contract was awarded during Mugabe era. And zviri kunzi ngaabvunze kuti Mike Chimombe naMoses Mpofu vakapinda sei mukati. So muri Zimbabwe zvaibvunzwa naSuper Mandiwanzira mubvunzo wakanaka, because kana iye akapiwa ichocho akapiwa tenda iyoyo iye Wycliffe Chivhayo zadumburo, akadi aita haana kuita akadya mari. Saka adya mari zvinoreva kuti Emmerson Mnangagwa nechekuita, that's why akatora Chivhayo akamusa padhuze achibva mujeri, because hurumende yaitaura kuti Chivhayo haide kumuona, but the same person akabva anotorwa futi. Izvozvi ndiye munhu ari kurana madheals ese aEmmerson Mnangagwa, ndiye rana pachange abva akasvipwa kudhara vakaraswa. Saka muri Zimbabwe ndizvo zvimwe zvinhu zviri kuitika munyika yeZimbabwe. Zvinhu hazvina kumira zvakanaka, hazvina kugadzikana. Koita imwe nyaya, hatisi kuperera ipapo, pane imwe nyaya da kuti tikuonese muri Zimbabwe yekudai so kuti isusu toda kuti tikuonese nyaya yaWycliffe Chivhayo panhau dziri kutevera, because panapa pari kutaurwa chishona porwa chirungu. Saka ukadzipotsa kunoku wakasatinzwisisa unokwanisa kumuvha vhidhiyo unonzwa dzechirungu, maybe unogona kunzwa zviri very clear kupfuura inini. Saka kuchirungu uku tine nyaya yaWycliffe kubva pekutanga kusvika pekupedzisira, tichibuditsa zvese, tichibuditsa chokwadi chese, tichiisa pachena, tichiti chibvu. Saka ndo mamiriro zvakaita muri Zimbabwe. Zviri kunzi Super Mandiwanzira afesa kupinda muchizarira nekuda kwenyaya dzakaita manje manje. Saka naizvozvo muri Zimbabwe isi tinokutendai nekuteerera kwenyu, tichakusiyai makateerera kubva kunews dzedu dzechirungu panapa, ndio patichakupai dzimwe nhau dzakakosha. Koita imwe nyaya tisati taenda, pane nyaya yaEmmerson Mnangagwa pamwe chete naChivhayo yekuti takaona pane contract yakanga ichipiwa Peter Ndlovu, ichipiwa Peter Ndlovu uyo atsvuka mazuva ano. Takaona pane contract yanga ichipiwa Peter Ndlovu yekuti aite manager weScotland. Pane maphotos anga achiratidza mari patable. Pana naWycliffe Chivhayo naScott Sakupwanya naiye Peter Ndlovu nemamwewo magentlemen anga aripo pavo. Saka isusu hedu nyaya yedu pairi ndepekuti mutemo wenyika yeZimbabwe panyaya dzemari hautenderi kuti mari yakawanda sei yange yakaiswa patable inge ichifambwa nayo, asi kunge inge iri mumabanks. Asi tiri kushamisika tikuona mari idzodzo dziri kutambwa dzichiiswa pachena dzichitwa sei. Izvozvizvi tine zvipatara zvedu hazvina mishonga, but tiri kuona mari dzakawanda dzakadai so. Vanhu vari kuisa mari pachena, vari kuita sei. Tiri kuzvibvuma kuti mune mari, but dzekuba dzekutibira isusu. But kana makudai so muzama kuti makuti svotesa kana kuti rwadzisa, muzama kutiratidza kuti isusu hatina chatinoziva panyaya yemari yedu. So muri Zimbabwe isusu tinokutendai nekuteerera kwenyu panapa. tiudza zvamunofunga panyaya iyi, asi takusiyai kunhau dzese chirungu dzake chitaura pamusoro paWicked Chivhayo pamwe chete nemalinks ake emuZANU-PF nana Emmerson Mnangagwa. Takusiyai makateerera.
Wicked Chivhayo, a name that has captured the attention of Zimbabweans for years, is a businessman whose rise to wealth and influence has sparked intense debate. Known for securing large state contracts, displaying a luxurious lifestyle, and maintaining connections with political figures, Chivhayo has become a symbol of both opportunity and controversy in the country. Critics have questioned the speed at which he accumulated his wealth. They point to multi-million-dollar contracts, such as the Gwanda solar project, and other deals in energy and ICT, as evidence that his access to business opportunities may not be typical for most entrepreneurs. Observers allege that political proximity may have played a role, granting him preferential treatment and contracts that competitors could not secure. At the same time, Chivhayo has publicly displayed his wealth in ways that have drawn both admiration and criticism. Luxury cars, mansions, and high-value gifts to churches, musicians, and influencers have raised eyebrows, particularly in a country struggling with economic challenges. Many Zimbabweans view such displays as insensitive, questioning whether his wealth comes from merit, political influence, or both. Allegations have also linked him to regime-backed financing and contracts related to election materials and state projects. Some financial intelligence reports circulating in 2025 suggested possible irregularities in transactions connected to foreign partners and Chivhayo's companies. Although these reports fueled public speculation, Chivhayo has consistently denied any wrongdoing. He maintains that all his business dealings are legitimate, and that he has never used political connections to gain unfair advantage. Despite these denials, Chivhayo remains a focal point in discussions about business, politics, and governance in Zimbabwe. Investigative journalists, civil society, and social media users continue to question the transparency of contracts awarded to him and the ethics of his public lifestyle. Parliament and watchdog groups have examined his involvement in state projects, particularly those related to energy infrastructure and ICT services, with varying levels of scrutiny and public interest. Supporters argue that Chivhayo is a successful entrepreneur who creates jobs and contributes to Zimbabwe's economy. They suggest that criticisms are politically motivated or fueled by jealousy. Nevertheless, public concern about accountability persists, especially in a context where state resources are limited and many citizens struggle to meet basic needs. His story highlights broader questions about the intersection of wealth, power, and politics. It raises important debates about how business is conducted, how contracts are awarded, and how public perception shapes the reputation of high-profile figures. Chivhayo's life and career illustrate the challenges of balancing success with public responsibility, particularly in a country where political and economic networks often overlap. One of the central controversies around Wicked Chivhayo involves the Gwanda solar project, a multi-million-dollar renewable energy initiative. Critics claim that despite the significant funds allocated to the project, progress on implementation has been slow. This has fueled public skepticism about whether the funds were used efficiently, or if political influence may have played a role in securing the contract. Other contracts connected to ICT supply and infrastructure have drawn similar attention. Some reports allege irregularities in how tenders were awarded, with claims that Chivhayo's companies were favored over competitors. While the Anti-Corruption Commission conducted investigations, the findings were inconclusive in publicly confirming wrongdoing, leaving room for ongoing debate. Chivhayo's response to allegations has been consistent. He insists that all contracts awarded to him were obtained legally, and that his companies have delivered value where required. In interviews, he has emphasized that political connections were never leveraged to secure contracts, and that much of the criticism stems from envy or misperceptions about his wealth. Public opinion remains divided. Many Zimbabweans, especially on social media, continue to scrutinize Chivhayo's lifestyle. Some see him as a symbol of success and entrepreneurial skill. Others see his wealth and public spending as a reflection of systemic favoritism, raising questions about inequality and transparency beyond contract awards. Chivhayo's public displays of wealth have become a central point of discussion. Reports indicate he owns a fleet of luxury vehicles and has purchased properties in Harare's most affluent suburbs. His generosity, including high-value gifts to religious organizations and artists, has sparked debate over the ethics of such spending in a nation facing economic hardship. Some critics argue that his lifestyle serves as a political signal, consolidating influence and creating social capital that benefits him in business and politics. Supporters counter that Chivhayo is entitled to enjoy the fruits of his success, and that his charitable contributions have positively impacted communities. In addition, social media discussions amplify public sentiment. Online commentators debate whether Chivhayo represents the possibilities of entrepreneurship or the dangers of political cronyism. The discussions often highlight broader systemic concerns about Zimbabwe's economy, governance, and the distribution of opportunity. Financial intelligence leaks in 2025 also added complexity. Certain reports suggested potential irregularities in transactions involving Chivhayo, foreign partners, and state projects. Chivhayo dismissed these claims as politically motivated and inaccurate, emphasizing that all his business dealings comply with legal standards. Another public flashpoint was Chivhayo's alleged involvement in election-related contracts through South African intermediaries. Critics claim that he may have benefited indirectly from procurement associated with electoral materials. However, official statements from Zimbabwe's Electoral Commission clarified that no contracts were directly awarded to him or his companies, providing him some public vindication. This incident, however, intensified public scrutiny of his political proximity. Analysts note that even unproven allegations can affect public perception and shape narratives about wealth, influence, and accountability. Chivhayo's approach to media coverage has been proactive. He frequently engages with journalists and issues statements denying wrongdoing. At the same time, he emphasizes transparency in his business and highlights his compliance with tax and statutory obligations. This combination of visibility, wealth, and political association has cemented his role as a figure of national debate, illustrating how individuals can become symbols for broader discussions about governance, fairness, and economic opportunity. Supporters argue that Chivhayo is a model of entrepreneurship. They cite his ability to secure contracts, deliver projects, and create employment opportunities as evidence of legitimate business success. They also emphasize the charitable contributions he makes to communities and organizations, portraying him as a philanthropist who invests in social development. Detractors, however, focus on the potential risks of concentrated wealth and political influence. They argue that Chivhayo's story highlights systemic vulnerabilities in Zimbabwe's procurement and governance processes. These vulnerabilities, critics say, can undermine public trust and reinforce inequalities in access to economic opportunity. Public debates continue across newspapers, social media, and television. Analysts use his case to examine how wealth, politics, and public perception intersect in contemporary Zimbabwe. Observers note that whether one views Chivhayo positively or negatively, his story reflects structural challenges facing the country in terms of transparency, economic policy, and political accountability. Chivhayo's narrative also raises questions about the role of entrepreneurship in developing economies. Is his wealth a result of individual skill and initiative, or does it reflect broader structural advantages linked to political networks? This question remains central to ongoing discussions. His public interactions, including interviews and social media engagement, reinforce his position that he is a legitimate businessman. He emphasizes that all transactions are lawful and that critiques often stem from political bias or misinterpretation, regardless of personal opinions. Chivhayo's prominence makes him a case study for understanding the balance of wealth, politics, and social responsibility in Zimbabwe. His career illustrates the challenges of navigating success in a high-stakes environment, where perception and reality often collide. In conclusion, Chivhayo's life and career offer lessons about ambition, influence, and accountability. He is simultaneously admired, criticized, and scrutinized, reflecting the complex interplay of business, politics, and public perception in Zimbabwe. His story is not just about one man. It is about the systems that allow wealth accumulation, the role of political networks in shaping opportunity, and the societal expectations placed on public figures. Chivhayo's experience underscores the importance of transparency, fairness, and responsible conduct, both for individuals and for institutions that govern economic activity. As Zimbabwe continues to grapple with economic and political challenges, the debate surrounding Chivhayo will remain relevant. His career highlights the possibilities of entrepreneurship and the potential pitfalls of political proximity. It also emphasizes the power of public perception, which can shape reputation and influence long after contracts are signed and wealth is acquired.